People need to be reminded of how easy it was to have a house in the past. Think to the pioneer days. You could pick a piece of random land and build something that looks like this. This looks like a good house to live in. Look at how easy it was to obtain your independence. If you were going to move out from your parents, all you had to do as a teenager is start building a shack a few yards away from your parents' shack. You didn't have to work fast on it if you were weak and lazy. You could just lay down one log a day. If you needed transportation, you just wait until your parents' horses gave birth, and then you took the baby horse and you raised it. You could also take your parents' seeds to plant your own garden. There were no safety inspectors or environmental regulations to bother you in regards to you building your shack. You could just build a sophisticated shanty just by screwing together some stud board and sheets of oriented strand board. And just like that, you could have a place to live in without taking out a 31-year mortgage. So if you needed to raise children, at age 14, you could build a shack, then fuck a 14-year-old girl and have her give birth to children. That was it. And you'd be a man with a house, just like that. Back then, women didn't know that a house has to be something better than a shack, so they wouldn't have minded. Everyone lived like that. If you were going to provide for your family, you just needed to hunt or set traps, or maybe build a few things like some furniture. That was it. And you were providing for your family. Now, if you want to provide for your family, you got to have an income of around $106,000 a year, from what I heard, in order to live comfortably. That means you can't move out at puberty. You have to finish high school first. Then you have to go into debt by enrolling in a university. Then you have to go into additional debt by buying a house and a car on credit. For white people, this creates a tremendously long delay before they can bring children into this world, so less white babies are born, and a certain group of people rejoices about that. An autistic white man is completely neutered in the present-day society. In the past, he could have killed a coyote with a bow and arrow, brought in a coyote carcass, and the wife would have been happy at what a great feast the family would have, cooking and eating coyote meat. That's all it took to be a provider. No more. You do that and she'll think you're a psycho. An autistic white man must instead work in a corporation and kiss the ass of a certain tribe of people and lick their ass if he wants that $106,000 annual income. To procreate, to have a wife, all these things that used to be your natural birthright have been turned into something far out of reach, long past the horizon, where a million hurdles must be jumped before you are allowed the privilege of reproduction or the privilege of a shelter. You don't even own the land you buy, if you can buy land, because you have to pay the income tax on it. Basically, you're paying rent to a corporation that is United States of America in order to live on its land, like you'd pay rent for office space or something. Far as vehicles go, it's funny that in China people will create Franken-cars, where they'll take pieces of cars and trucks, like the working pieces of old cars and trucks, and fuse them together into some weird-looking vehicle, like a truck with 3 wheels or something. You see now how you've been ripped off by the so-called modern world? You have no choice now but just to sit, play video games, and waste away. Women have been programmed with the idea that a man must provide them with nice, expensive, shiny things. And eventually, you'll have no choice but to live in a beehive apartment building that the government will provide. But you better kiss Jew ass, or that'll be taken away from you too. A building like that is like a termite pillar, where humans are reduced to the status of insects. Now I might as well talk about some gematria-based coincidences just for fun. The synagogue shooter's name Robert Bowers, and Squirrel Hill, the neighborhood where the Tree of Life synagogue stands. The names share 3 out of 4 base ciphers. The synagogue is called Tree of Life, and the Tree of Life is referenced in Genesis 3:22 in the Bible. I don't know shit about the Bible, but anyway, the number 322 is important here. And the Lord God said, Behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. And now, lest he put forth his hand, and take also of the tree of life, and eat, and live forever. The story was published on CNN at 3:22 p.m. The whole biblical verse from Genesis 3:22 regarding the tree of life breaks down into 322 in the reverse full reduction cipher. Trump, the Jewish Zionist puppet president, stated that something has to be done about the synagogue shooting. Now, when it comes to news headlines, and they highlight something in the headline in quotations like that, they make it stand out prominent like that, it's a good idea to check the gematria of that phrase or whatever. In this video, Trump repeats twice that something has to be done. He is emphasizing that phrase on purpose. The script he was given puts an emphasis on that phrase, so he repeats it twice. What is the gematria of something has to be done? It's 322 in reverse ordinal. The name Robert Bowers shares 3 of the 4 base ciphers with the words ritual murder. Now here's something funny that you can get a good kick out of. This is a video from CBS News related to the synagogue shooting. In the video, the news anchor is speaking on the phone with a former FBI profiler by the name of Mary Ellen O'Toole. At around 2:59 in the video, you will hear Mary Ellen create a sound that people have identified as a water bong. Supposedly she is sucking in cannabis smoke through a water bong. Is that what we're supposed to think? Mary Ellen and the words water bong have identical gematria in all 4 base ciphers. Oh, but it gets even better. Her last name is O'Toole. This Miss O'Toole, who is a former FBI profiler, is called up to explain the mindset of Mr. Bowers, the synagogue shooter. O'Toole and Bowers both share 3 out of 4 of the base ciphers. Oh, it's all just a coincidence, right? Do you see how fucking staged this whole world is? How politics is nothing but a stage show? The news stories, it's all a fucking circus. This is a worldwide Judeo-Freemasonic dictatorship, and every single day they use this Kabbalistic numeric code to stage news stories, to play with the minds of the masses, to propagandize the masses, to manipulate the masses into giving up more and more liberties, and so on. The democracy thing is just a fucking illusion. It's the only way they can get away with remaining in power is by making it look as if there is a democracy. What happened after the synagogue shooting? Robert Bowers was posting anti-Semitic messages on a platform called Gab.ai. Because of that, Gab.ai has now shut itself down, and people are mad that this is the end of free speech, because Gab.ai was supposed to be a free speech open platform where you don't get penalized for so-called free speech. But it seems Gab.ai was actually part of this whole ritual, because recently I found out that a gabbai is a synagogue helper. You see how those who rule us like to play with words to mock us? So who really is behind Gab.ai? More divide and conquer manipulation. Gab.ai also has a green frog for a logo, and isn't Donald Trump associated with a green frog, Donald Trump, the Jewish Zionist president? Just for shits and giggles, I went to CNN and saw a story about Trump putting out a racist ad. So I decided to apply some gematria decoding to the story, and I did this before Zach Hubbard jumped on it, because I wanted to see if I'll be able to do it by myself without his help. By plugging in certain keywords, I was able to figure out that the whole story revolves around the number 60. This story was published on November 1st, 2018, which leaves 60 days in the year. There is 60 days left in the year when the story is published. So it basically says the Republican Party accused Democrats of plotting to help people they depict as Central American invaders overrun the nation with cop killers. So I plugged in some important words. As you can see, Donald Trump has a 60. This scandal is revolving around Donald Trump, this staged scandal. The phrase racist ad has a 60 in it, and it also has a 30. What does Trump call them? Cop killers? The phrase cop killers has a 60 in it as well. Since we're on the topic of cop killers, the word police has a 30 and a 60, just like racist ad. They are labeled Central American invaders. Central America has a 60 in it. Mexico also has a 30 in it. Where do the invaders come from? They come from Mexico. Racist ad has a 30. What else do they say in the story? This is the most racially charged national political ad in 30 years. Again, the number 30 pops up. The ad recalls the notorious Willie Horton campaign ad financed by the supporters of the George H.W. Bush campaign in the 1988 presidential election. Horton was a convicted murderer who committed rape while furloughed under a program in Massachusetts where Democratic nominee Michael Dukakis was governor. Notice how they bring up another, what they call, racist ad from history from the year 1988. So we're looking at number 88. Trump is 88. The Republican Party is 88. By the way, back to the number 60 appearing all over, the word caravan has the gematria of 60. This is referring to the caravans of migrants coming out of Mexico, and as you can see, Mexico has a 30 in it, as does the word's racist ad. You see how carefully crafted and staged our reality, the entire American experience, is by this code? We get even more bullshit. Here's a funny news story. There was a swastika party at a haunted house, complains Anti-Defamation League. Gee, is this a real story or a bullshit fake story? Let's check the gematria. Swastika party, 183 ordinal. Haunted house, 183 reverse ordinal. Anti-Defamation League, 183 ordinal. Yeah, get the fuck out of here.